The unfortunate part of American politics is that the anti-China trade position became bipartisan. So Trump began with this, actually even before Trump, remember that Obama was trying to create the TPP. And the Trans-Pacific Partnership aim was an Asian trading system that wouldn't include China. It was a most bizarre idea, in my view, because it was taking the major economy out of the picture. It was a kind of American arrogance. In any event, it failed. But already with Obama, the anti-China sentiment started. Then came Trump and his unilateral tariff policies. I think the Democrats got afraid that Trump was making political success by bashing China, so they should bash China too. And the Democrats started the same thing, and Biden not only kept the Trump policies, but actually added to them by the ban on the advanced semiconductors and by other limitations. So this has been a very big disappointment for me, that we have the whole political class in Washington roughly on the same line. I don't know how fast it can change. I don't know whether this election will change matters or not, because the two lead candidates at this moment, at least, have both been on the hardline trade position. By the way, there's a lot of unpredictability in the US election to come, so I wouldn't count on it by being either Biden or Trump necessarily, because a lot can happen between now and November. But I would say that China needs to do two things. One, if the US continues in this antagonistic way, China, of course, should be responding by expanding its trade networks and markets to other regions. And there's a whole big world out there, not just the US or even the US and EU. There's the rest of Asia, there is Africa, there is Latin America, and almost every other place other than the US and parts of Europe want a good relationship with China, want open trade, want technology, want financing, and so on. So that's one thing China should do. The other is, of course, to try to bring the US back into compliance with the World Trade Organization rules and to negotiate generally a kind of a diminishing of the tensions. This is probably possible with whatever the outcome is in November. It's not impossible. Again, the US is breaking WTO rules. It stopped the appellate procedure of WTO, and this has to be fixed. And bilateral negotiations between the US and China can also help to solve certain problems. But I would really encourage China to expand its trade relations with the rest of the world. That's a big part of the world economy. It's a fast-growing part of the world economy. I very much support the Belt and Road Initiative and think that that's a major way to expand trade and finance, and so I hope that that's another part. I very much support the BRICS process and also the new development bank, which is based in Shanghai, and the bank president, Dilma Rousseff, is at this conference, of course, and that bank has an important role to play. I strongly support AIIB, which is another new institution created by China to facilitate this kind of financing. So I'm hoping the situation will improve, but I don't think we should think that it's one party or the other right now. This is a bipartisan mood, and to my view, a bipartisan mistake. Of course, the World Bank has a big name, but a relatively small investment flow at this point, something around $50 billion a year, which for a World Bank is a little short of money. So I support enlarging the World Bank by much more paid in capital. The U.S. has resisted this because more paid in capital would also mean a change of voting shares and a larger vote for China, for India, probably for Russia, for other countries. And in the U.S. Congress, the nationalist feeling would oppose that. So the government doesn't even take it to the Congress. These institutions are global institutions. They each have about 190 members, but they are also politically dominated by the United States in important practical ways. And so the U.S. has a very significant role, and it means that to keep that role, it's actually limiting the expansion of these institutions, because that would require a rebalancing of the voice within these institutions. Incidentally, Europe is behaving pretty much like the United States, because the European vote is also beyond the European share of world output and population size and so forth. So we need a more balanced multilateral system. So it's not surprising that the BRICS established the new development bank. But the U.S., as I said in my talk, has made all of this go faster by really politicizing the dollar, and in some ways politicizing the World Bank and the IMF as well, by pushing those institutions to support countries favorable to U.S. foreign policy and to oppose financing to those countries that are on the opposite side of U.S. foreign policy. And that is not how multilateral institutions should behave.